honestly, like I'm gonna go and start recording. These the daily assignments, as you'll see, they really once you turn in essay one, pretty much the grade you make on essay one is really what's going to determine your grade in the class. And so all these like little assignments leading up to essay one are meant to be building blocks to prepare you for the exact way I'm gonna be grading you on the assignments that like really matter. Now, like people always doubt when I say this in the beginning because the first, well, I mean, in a normal class, the first like almost 6 weeks are just these little assignments. And they don't really see how big of a difference the essays make on your overall grade. And so, like, some people can be freaking out right now because they have like and this is not you, but other people might have like a 70 in the class because they're making 5 errors on their classwork assignments. But like once they make sure that on essay one that they don't make those same errors again, and they end up with like a 90 or 95 on essay one, their grade will go from a 70 to probably almost a 90 in the class, an 85. Their grade will dramatically increase. I'm not going to share, let's see here. And just to prove this point, I'm not going to share my screen right now on the grade book because I don't want people to see each other's grades and, all that kind of stuff. But I will look at it on my screen, and I'm going to just pull up someone's let's see, I'm gonna look at somebody who has like a 75. Okay, all right, this person's a 75, and I'm gonna put a 95 in for essay one, and their grade goes from a 75 to an 85 with a 95 on essay one. Okay, their grade improves 10 points. Right, so that's how much power SA1 has. Now, the exact same way, I've had students who will go into SA1 with a 95 in the class. They've been doing everything right, but for whatever reason, like they don't really, they take SA1 too easily, and so they don't actually do that well on it. And so I'm gonna look at someone who has a 95 right now, and I'm gonna say, let's say they only make a 70 on SA1. Let's say they have that would be 6 errors. Let's say they have 6 errors on SA1. All right. Well, then their grade in the class goes from a 95 to an 85. It drops 10 points. So the SA1 is going to have the biggest impact on your grade thus far, despite all those other assignments. Okay. So I think it's really worth me taking off stupid little points right now in the beginning. I'm sure some people probably even think it's like petty, but by going ahead and doing it now and really trying to like get those little things ingrained in our heads, will pay off when you complete SA1 and you don't make those same mistakes and the grades dramatically increase. Like this one person I was looking at just now, they had a 45. They have a 45 in the class, but if they make a 100, which is not, I've given out plenty of 100s on essays. If they make 100 on the essay, then their grade jumps up to a 70. Okay, so again, essay one is greatly important. And so by making sure that we don't make any of those errors on essay one, you ensure a dramatic grade increase. And so I just want people, so maybe if they're like, oh, if he takes this seriously, if he takes these errors this seriously in just classwork, then he's definitely going to take them seriously in the essay. So I got to make sure that like I really don't make these errors. And and for this class, for the most part, this class really is about the mechanics. I mean, I can't stress enough about how this class, the things that we're doing in this class, impacts all the classes that you have to write papers in from this point forward. And like, I mean, I'm a BA major, And my wife was a BS major, Bachelor of Science. I was Bachelor of Arts. And even though she was Bachelor of Science, she still wrote tons and tons of papers because she majored in psychology. And so every single class, she had to write papers. Now, in psychology, she had to learn APA formatting. But like formatting is kind of like a language where like learning your first foreign language is really difficult. Like learning like Spanish for the first time is difficult. But then once you learn Spanish, then like learning a second language like French, especially if it's a romantic language, is easier because even though it's a different language, there's a lot of similarities in it, and you're already used to the process of learning a new language, and you're kind of already understanding the terminology like conjugating verbs and tenses and stuff, right? So learning your next foreign language isn't as hard as learning the first foreign language, and that's kind of the same thing with like formatting. Learning MLA formatting right now might be like just like really really frustrating, but then once you take a class where they're like, hey, we're going to be using APA style from this point forward, then like just learning the little differences in that style isn't going to be nearly as hard, and which is important because I mean, like I said, in her psychology classes, people have failed papers just because of formatting issues, not because of anything else. And people are like, some of you again might be like, well, that's petty, that's stupid. Who cares about formatting? But if you move forward in your academic career and you become an academic and you're trying to publish papers and stuff, they won't accept papers that are not formatted correctly. So again, it has this forward future planning purpose in mind, that like this stuff at this level might seem stupid, but if you continue on with your academic pursuits and possibly career, then these things that we're doing is still relevant. It's relevant in this class. It's going to be relevant in history classes when you're writing papers. It's relevant in your social science classes when you have to write papers. If any of you become an English major or a sociology major, I mean, you're just writing papers. You're writing papers. You're writing papers, and all these things are going to be played through. It's not like math class where once you learn it in that one math, 1101 math, if you don't take any other math classes, it doesn't really matter. Things we're doing in this class, even though it's an English class, are still relevant in terms of not the stories, but the style of writing, the formatting, the citing your sources, having good sources. That's relevant in your history courses, in your science, in your any class you have to write a paper in. So it seems minute right now, like, but it does have a long lasting, effects and stuff. And so, and I'm not just telling you that, I'm recording this. I'm telling everybody this about why I'm paying attention to these small little details. All right, so let's see here. Let's move on to the let's get off that screen. Let's go to the quiz. I'm going to share my screen in a moment, and we'll look at quiz 3. That's in week 2. And then I'm going to go over some. Well, hey, Justin, you're the only one here. Would you rather me go over first good and bad examples of annotated bibliographies, or do you want me to go over the answers to quiz 3?
I'll be honest with you. I either one's good. I'm here for the long haul, so you're the boss.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm on the quiz 3, so I might as well just go over that real fast. And at any point you want me to explain more the answer, I will do that. So here we go. I'm gonna try to keep this 10 minutes so I can talk about the bibliographies. Let's set a timer. Okay. So let's see here. All right. So this quiz was utilizing the notes that went over in week 2. All right. Multiple choice. Is the following citation written correctly? So we have this last name, first name. We have quotation marks. Marx's portrayal of social conflict. Blah 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 blah. We have a period with quotation marks. We have italics, title, date, all that. All right. So this is yes. This is correct. Question 2, is this one written correctly? All right. And I gave you a hint, punctuation. So we have last name Baldwin, first name Emma, period, quotation mark, literary adaptation, comma, period, poem analysis, and italics. All right, so here's the problem. This period right here needs to be inside of the quotation marks. It should be literary adaptation, period, and then quotation marks. Just like here, where we have the Marxist portrayal of social conflict, blah, 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 blah. After runner, we have period, and then we have the quotation marks. All right. So this one is incorrect because of this. This guy, Where's Waldo? Like, identify the error. I really loved those books where you have 2 pages of the same picture, but there's like 10 differences, 10 changes, and you identify the change, which one's different, right? I loved those as a kid. And that's really why I do provide you examples, which I'll talk about in a little bit more with my annotated bibliography example. I try to give you examples because I think comparing and contrasting your work to the correct thing is really, really important to help you figure out if you're doing it correct or not. And so if you compare this one to this one, you would see that this period is on the inside of the quotation mark. All right. Multiple choice. Okay, is the following citation written correctly for the source? Hint, all the essential information. All right, so here we have feminism in film, Cedars. All right, this citation is missing an author's name. Does this source have an author's name? Well, it does. Brianna Beers, right there. So this citation, feminism in film, is written incorrectly because it doesn't have an author's name. All right, which of the following sources are allowed to be used in a paper? If you recall from week 2, I went over, I listed sources that you could be used. These are sources that can be used, all right? If it's not on this source and it doesn't come from Galileo, then I don't want you to use it. And these were specifically stated that you cannot use, all right? So here we have this by Angela Avery. This is from goodtherapy.org. This one by Catherine is from The Guardian. And this one by Robert Puff is from Psychology Today. Well, if you look over here, okay, Psychology Today is there, all right? And then what was the other one that I had on there? The Guardian. The Guardian's right there, okay? So the only one that you can't use is goodtherapy.org, which is one, really, technically, okay? So which sources are allowed to be used? You can use 2 and 3. Sorry, my dogs are howling. Hold on one second. I don't know why they're howling. Hold on one second. Sorry. I mean, I don't care if they're howling, but my wife has in her office, she has online meetings too, and I'm sure she could hear the dogs howling. Weird. Anyways, so you can use The Guardian and you can use Psychology Today. 2 and 3 are the only ones you cannot use. It's okay. So that's answer. So this answer right here, 2 and 3. Is the following works cited page organized correctly? So here we have Baxter, Thomas, Buchanan, and this person, Erna. This is incorrectly organized because it's not alphabetical order. This is B, this is T, this is B, and this is M. So this Angie Thomas, her book, her citation should be at the very bottom here. It's out of order. Is the following source permissible? Yes or no? All right, well, let's look at it. International Journal of Applied Psychoanalytic Studies, EBSCOhost. Yep, that tells me it's from Galileo. So that's a good, that source is permissible. Is the following source permissible? Medium. No. because on our list of here, medium is not allowed. Okay. So, and that's stated specifically. So no. Can both of these sources be used in your essay? Matthews is from the New York Times. That's a yes. Lauren Dells is from CNN, and that's a no. Okay. Now look, I will admit this, y'all. Listen to me. There's a way of navigating Fox News and CNN News to find reliable information. Okay, there's a lot of Fox News writers and a lot of CNN writers who are just journalists, and they go through a rigorous process of editing and fact checking and citing their sources. That's totally cool. Okay, I don't really have time to teach how to differentiate between a objective Fox News or CNN News article versus a subjective Fox News and CNN News article. Their websites are filled with just as many skewed perspectives as well. Okay, opinion pieces, editorials, analysis. Those are all terms used to indicate that the writer is writing what they think. Editorial is the writer's perspective. Analysis is the writer's perspective. Editorial analysis. I just used another word, the third word I used. All right. And so those are like their opinions versus a article that is, because Fox News and CNN News, sometimes they just pull from what's called the Associated Press. The Associated Press is a big organization that just writes articles. They hire writers, journalists to write articles. There's a rigorous process of editorial process, research. Nothing's published without being fact checked multiple times. All right, and then like most newspapers and news organizations, they will purchase articles from the Associated Press. So you might see something published on Fox News that's by an AP writer. They're not actually an employee of Fox News. They're actually an employee of the Associated Press, and their article was purchased by Fox News and published on Fox News. And like that is a reliable resource. Same thing with CNN. Some of the things that they post on CNN is not written by actual CNN correspondents. It's written by Associated Press reporters, and their article was purchased and published on CNN News. So, but that takes a lot of, again, like a little bit more. If this was a research course, I would probably go into that a lot more. But considering the time and constraints and it's being summer, I just didn't really want to do a whole lesson on that. So the easiest, safest bet is just no Fox News, no CNN News for these papers in this semester. So no, you cannot use both. You cannot use both of these. Based upon this source, which of the following citations are written correctly? All right. So we have Fletcher Joe and then Fletcher Joe and Karen Nicholas. All right. So if you recall the MLA questions from week 1, all right, if you have 1 or 2 authors, you write their names. You only put a all if it is more than 2. So if there's 3 authors or 4 authors or 5 authors, then you can start putting AL. And that's one of those things that's a pretty recent change in MLA. Traditionally, you wrote everybody out. So this one, Fletcher, Joe, and Karen, is the correct one. What is wrong with this citation, if anything? Okay, Mayo Clinic. I know Mayo Clinic publishes tons and tons and tons of stuff, but Mayo Clinic is not the author. And sometimes things are published as like Mayo Clinic staff, all right? There is no specific writer for that. So Mayo Clinic, you don't put the organization as the writer. You just leave it blank. And you would not have Mayo Clinic here. This would be scratched off. And it would begin with complicated grief. And then you would have Mayo Clinic in italics. So this is incorrect. This is not a person. We only put people's names here. If it's not a person, leave it blank and just begin with the title. All right, that's it. Those are the 10 questions answered. There you go. Justin, do you have any questions about that before I move on?
No, sir.
All right, cool. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to talk. This doesn't give me a timer. All right, we're going to talk about annotated bibliographies. So this was here for sources. And then these are the kind of things I was looking for. And then I gave you an example right there. In your example, this right here, okay? It should look like this. If you notice, my title is not bolded. Some people, oh, whoopsies. Some people bolded their titles. That's incorrect. You lost points if you bolded the title. Okay. If you notice, when I do select all, I go to paragraph, before a zero, after a zero, and the line spacing is double. That's correct. Okay. There are many people, as you'll see in a moment, who had inconsistent line spacing throughout their paper. It's in MLA formatting. I have my last name and page number. I have my sources in alphabetical order. My example, they'll only have 2. Okay. I didn't do 4. You had to do 4. I just did 2. All right. So let's look at some examples. Here first, we'll begin with an A example. An A example. Don Juan. Way to go, Don Juan. You did a great job. Okay. All right. This is the A example. I think so. All right. So with this, we have our the heading is correct. Let's do all. Can you what? Yeah, go ahead. Together. Okay. Go to paragraph. Before a zero, after a zero, line spacing is double. Okay. Sources, let's see. EBSCOhost. Okay. You may use that source because that's Galileo. All right, good. Galileo. Great. Let's see. New York Times. Okay, this is correct. You can use that. Now this one though, this one I don't know about. I just realized. Genius. Oh, wait. I approved this one. Okay, so this one, I believe that this one was sent to me. And yeah. Okay, so this is an example of a website that I approved. Okay, Genius website. I think this is the one that I approved. No, that's not it. There was a website that was sent to me about and it was by scholars, and I looked at it, and I said, sure, yeah, that's fine. I don't know if this one's it or not. Let's see. Oh, this is a song. Okay. All right. Well, actually, okay. So this one right here, I would not approve. Actually, this is what? This is not the website that I thought this person sent me. That is actually incorrect. I would actually mark this one as not a good source to use at all. This one, I wanted to use this example because I wanted to highlight the use of the New York Times, definitely. But this one would receive points off because Genius, and this being about a song, is not a, here we go, is not a good source to be using. Okay. Oh, that's kind of scary looking. All right, there we go. There is a different website that someone asked if they could use because it's a website based on, it had an editorial staff. They made money, so they were published. They had copyright. Oh, I have 10 minutes, and it was all their people who worked for it were professors and English teachers, and that one was like cool. Okay, so what you can always do is send me the link and say, hey, is this an okay website? I know it's not on the PowerPoint, but like I think it's a pretty good website. Can you look at this to see if this is you know, if you would verify this? and then I would. All right. This one, I do not. Genius, and it's about music mostly. Nah, that one would not be good. But this one by the New York Times is good because it's related. She relates it to the butcher and where you're going, where have you been? Okay. Some other things that people have done. All right. This person, this one, Rosie, not her real name, is not great only because the paragraphs were indented. The paragraphs did not be indented. And then there's like a hanging indent. I don't know like what is happening with that. While the citation receives a hanging indent, the actual analysis should be over here. Okay, and the first line should be indented. And then also this citation is written in, which to me is APA formatting, because APA formatting, the biggest giveaway is the date published is at the very beginning, and they don't use the full name of the author. This is the wrong formatting. All right. And so like this, and APA doesn't use quotation marks at the beginning of their articles titles. So like this should be written like this. Okay. And then like you don't write like in, like what? All right. So this citation, same thing here. This is not MLA formatting at all. That's incorrect. The citation is incorrect. The annotation is incorrect. So all of this is now. I mean, of course, it's nice they have a hanging indent. That's good, but it's still it's the wrong one. So maybe this person like didn't realize that. Maybe they found this article, and they went to the citation thing, and they didn't realize that they didn't select MLA. All right, maybe the very first one is APA. Sometimes that happens. I don't know if I have time to really go to the library to show you, but when you go to citation, you have to make sure you select MLA, not APA, because this is APA. This is APA. All right. The biggest giveaways, I know it right away just by looking at the fact that they don't write out the first name and they put the date of publication right away. And see that's important for AP. Listen, most of your airplane, most science-based classes will use APA because APA emphasizes the date of publication because it's science. So that's important. All right. If you're writing a paper on AIDS research, you don't want to cite a 1985 article. Okay. You want to cite as recent as possible because the research on AIDS in 1985 is probably mostly like 100% incorrect compared to the research done in 2015. So when it comes to science, when science matters and dates matter and research matters and proving falsehoods in science, APA formatting is really, really important. Okay. But like in literary analysis and like literature analysis for the most part, it doesn't really matter. Someone in 1800, 1805 can analyze Shakespeare possibly better than someone in 2005. So analyzing literature doesn't necessarily have, now of course there's always things like current events and how does like history shape our interpretations, blah, 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 blah. Yes, I get that, right? But for the most part, MLA does not focus on time of publication. So it would not be one of the first things in the citation. Okay. It's really important for sciences. It's not as important for MLA, for literature, which is why for literature, the dates of publications are always at the bottom, towards the end, okay, when it was published. And so I can always immediately tell when someone is using APA formatting because of dates, where the dates are. APA formatting, when they cite sources, they don't put page numbers. They put the author's name and the year that it was published. So let's say like this is like we'll say this sentence was a abbreviation of what Smiley says. They would do APA to Smiley whatever year this was published, 2022. That's a parenthetical citation for APA formatting. And people will do that in their papers for essays 1, essay 2, essay 3. I guarantee they'll do it like that because they're not realizing that they are citing using APA formatting instead of MLA formatting. We do not care about dates in MLA formatting. So it shouldn't be in your parenthetical citations, and it shouldn't be in your actual citations like this. All right. Okay, I think I'm running out of time. Let's see. I have 3 minutes left. This one, main thing here was that she didn't indent her paragraphs. I don't know what's wrong with my dogs. Driving me crazy. Okay. Also, this is these sources. Okay, Book Riot, I did not approve. Summary and analysis. I'm not looking for, I don't want you to use summary analysis websites. I want you to come up with your own analysis. Okay, this one's fine because it's EBSCOhost right there. And then this one's fine because it's EBSCOhost right there. So those were good. There was someone who used SparkNotes, and I was trying to show you that no, you cannot use SparkNotes. Okay, no SparkNotes, people. Okay. Oh, right here. Okay, SparkNotes, not on the approved list. You cannot use SparkNotes. And then somebody used, oh, also, some people are using sources that do not apply to your story. There's somebody who was writing about, Night Shift by Stephen King. And, but all the articles that they're writing were about night shifts and hospitals. Okay. And that is no. Like night shifts in hospitals have nothing to do with Night Shift, Stephen King's book, which I read. I know his book is about rats and working underground. Okay. And then some people are using autobiographical information for their sources. And I really did go over in this about how like autobiographical information is the least important information. Okay, unless it's about like the story that they wrote. I'm trying to find where I discussed that. The story that they wrote is about their life. Okay, biographical information is not useful. All right, so like don't waste a source on that. Somebody posted a source about, I can't find it, about adapting Stephen King's short stories to the screen. And that plays no purpose in essay 1. That's not a useful source. Just because it's about your story or the author doesn't mean that it's a good source or it's about the topic. Now, essay 3 is about adaptations, and that'll be useful for essay 3. But essay 2 is not about adaptations. So there's no real point of having a source. Okay, so like the quality of sources do matter. All right. Now, there's always going to be something where people submit something or do something and it falls through the cracks. There's going to be an error y'all make that I don't catch. Okay, which is apparently in this first one. I missed this whole bad of source that this person used. Okay, so but just because I miss an error in my grading doesn't give you permission that like you won't have that same error caught next time. All right, so just be sure of that. I'm about to run out of time. I'm sorry. Justin, do you have any questions before we get kicked off?
No, sir. I'm good.
All right, great. So just know that, y'all, I want to end on that point. Just because I don't catch an error on one of your assignments doesn't mean that I won't catch it next time. And you can't be like, hey, you didn't take points off for me doing that the first time, because that's just my bad. If I go over in a lecture, you're always held accountable